Welcome to Launch. We're thrilled that you're here. Over the last 9 months, we've made a lot of progress bringing the platform forward, especially for churches. We introduced sharing, which is an amazing tool to take clips out of your video streams and bring those right into social media, making it easy for people to catch the highlights of your events. We've introduced the new Spark encoder, which is a best-in-class, amazing device for live streaming. And we've made a number of other platform updates that you're going to love that makes the easiest platform for streaming even better, such as thumbnail generation for your videos. Audio metering, so you see where the audio levels are for your broadcasts. And low latency preview so that you can see what's going on as it happens. But today's not about us, it's about you. We've brought some of the best experts that can help you engage and collaborate with your community. I want to thank Attaway Audio, FaithWorks Marketing, EasyWorship, BeKnownForSomething, and WorshipTeamCoach for bringing valuable resources to you today. So with that, let's go. Take it away, Gary.
Hey friends, welcome to Launch. My name's Gary, and I'm so glad that you joined us today. It's going to be an awesome day, I promise you. But let me give you a little bit of information here. BoxCast, we started this event launch in January of this year, and we really wanted to show you that we were a platform for churches. We gave you all the information we could possibly tell you about our products, from our amazing live streaming to our hardware encoder, the Spark, all the way down to some new features and things that we've developed to help give your church the edge and being more of a community for your community. And this event, well, this one's a little bit different because it's not about us, it's about you. We really wanted to focus down on some of the things that BoxCast are just not going to be experts in, from church branding to having an online presence and, a little bit of audio. So we have worked the last 9 months extremely hard to bring in some partners and some friends who are experts in those fields. And I'm glad and excited to tell you that they have some amazing presentations. We're going to focus in on a couple of those today. One is going to be performance, one is going to be presentation, one is going to be about online presence. We're going to focus down on some branding for your church, and we're going to talk about the inevitable, most dangerous of them all, audio. And so with all of that information, we're hoping that we're going to give you the cutting edge to take not only the BoxCast platform, but also the tools and information you learn today to enhance your ministries. Again, to become a community for your community. We really want to focus in on outreach engagement with you. But before we move into that, I've got some housekeeping things that we want to go into today. You've already registered, so congratulations. You're entered in for our free Apple AirPods drawing. No, I'm sorry to tell you, it's not the new ones that were released yesterday, and I am telling you this now because this is a live event that we are hosting, so if you're going to see some things change, that's great. But we're not giving you the free new AirPods. We're going to give you a pair of AirPods that will be new, but we're going to give those to one lucky attendee today because you registered. We want to give back. This content is also going to live on YouTube as well. So we are putting it on YouTube, and everything that you see here from all of our presentations all the way down the line will be available. So if you haven't, go to youtube.com/BoxCast and subscribe, like, and comment, all those YouTube-y things that you would do to make sure you're getting all the good information from us and you can check out this video. And of course, if you haven't already, join the block. The description down below has the link. The block is an amazing newsletter that we've put out, so that way we can help you stay connected to BoxCast. And of course, in case you missed it, and all the things that are trending in the areas that we're, kind of working on and doing things too. So, all right, with that being said, it's time to kick this thing off. I'm so excited for our presentations. The first one up today is Jared with EasyWorship.
Hi guys, and thank you so much for joining us today at BoxCast Launch event. My name's Jared, and I'm the Support and Communications Director here at EasyWorship. For any of you attending that don't know about us already, EasyWorship is a presentation software made specifically to help solve the pain points of growing churches, and churches looking for a cost-effective, stable solution that can scale and grow with your church. Now, our shameless plug is out of the way, and I just wanted to say that we're incredibly happy to be a part of this event, and we are really excited to see what the future holds for both EasyWorship and BoxCast. Today, I was asked to discuss creating compelling content within the church, why it's important, and some of our tips on how to approach it. Now, technology is moving fast, honestly faster than in any other period of human history. From the pager to the internet to smartphones and now TikTok, technology has been leaping forward aggressively since before I was born, and we're seeing those ramifications in the church. Attention spans are shortening, and gaining attention from the younger generation is getting more and more challenging with the pressures of social media and the prevalence of mobile devices. We all know that the future of the church is the youths, so it's absolutely vital that we as leaders of the church and the technology that it leverages understand what we can do to connect with a continually widening gap that technology is leaving within our congregations. Now, on to the meat of the matter. What can you do in your church with your creative resources to deal with this issue? Now, to quote my favorite movie, What About Bob? It's so simple, yet so brilliant. You have to create compelling content across all of your channels. From animated or still backgrounds behind your slides during services, to social posts and physical media handed out at your church or abroad, the opportunities you have to connect with and engage your congregation are limitless. Now, on the live service side of things, your media selection plays a huge role in how engaged your attendees are with both the worship and the sermon. I don't have enough time today to go super in depth on tips to level up your media game, but we did actually recently release a blog post on our website for some of the best practices for making engaging media. Now, super quick rundown of that is don't use garish colors like red or blue, or garish font styles like Comic Sans or, God forbid, Papyrus. Don't be afraid to try new things, and animated backgrounds, videos, countdowns, and similar media usually end up being the most engaging. The main thing to remember here is that it's important to find out what works in your church, because every church is different. Don't try to do something that somebody else is doing just to be cool. But do feel free to draw inspiration from what they're doing if you feel like it aligns with your church. Now, this is another good time to plug our premium media subscription, because we now have over 20,000 pieces of media from incredible producers around the globe that can help make your presentations and lyrics look next level for a crazy low price. Not to mention saving your creative and tech teams tons of time on ideation and brainstorming. Another fantastic resource for creating compelling content in your church is utilizing AI tools. Now, I know what you're thinking, but Jared, AI's complicated and intimidating. Well, suck it up, because I'm here to tell you that using AI tools for generating content or ideas is a huge and quite possibly the biggest impactor that you can add to your arsenal. From image generating tools for creating content for your kids or youth groups, to using ChatGPT to create a lesson plan for your Bible study, the applications of AI in the church are only just now being pioneered. Now, there are several free tools available online so you can get your proverbial feet wet before getting all the way in, and they genuinely are not as complicated as you may think. Most of them follow the exact same formula of you inputting what you're looking for and then getting a result based on that. Now, one pro tip I would give you is to be as specific as humanly possible, because that always will net you the best result. In closing, my advice to you is this: use the resources you have available at your church. If there are young people showing interest in tech, marketing, or creative, make sure you nurture that interest and include them in your process. And if you haven't already used EasyWorship, or at the very least checked out our premium media resources, please do so. We're giving away a free 1-year license to EasyWorship as part of the launch event with BoxCast, so please stay tuned for more info on that. And if you haven't ever looked into EasyWorship as a solution to your presentation software needs, please do so. We would love to have you as part of the EasyWorship community. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and have a blessed day.
Thanks, Jared. We really appreciate it. We love EasyWorship. We love how the software is easy to use, how intuitive it is. And if you haven't checked out EasyWorship already, go to easyworship.com and you can go ahead and look at their software, take a look at the requirements and their pricing model, and they'll get you all squared away with a sales rep. And of course, Jared and EasyWorship are giving away that free license to the EasyWorship software. So look out for a personal communication from me regarding that in the winter. And of course, again, we're going to announce them in our newsletter and our social media as we come about that. All right, now, next up, we have someone who is near and dear to my heart, and he has been on the BoxCast podcast before, and he specializes in helping you achieve a better practice and experience for your worship team. His name is Matt Miller, and he's with WorshipTeamCoach. Let's go ahead and hear from him now.
Hey guys, this is Matt Miller from WorshipTeamCoach.com. Super excited to be part of this launch podcast here with BoxCast and this roundtable. And make sure to check out everybody else's videos because I know it's going to be awesome content. So Gary, shout out to Gary Buchanan with BoxCast, and Wade, shout out to you too, sir. You guys are doing amazing things here, and super excited again to just be a part of this launch. So let's dive in. They asked me to talk about a few things today. They asked me to talk about systems and structures and presence and practice. That's right, we're going to talk about practice today as well. So diving right in. So systems, right? Everybody has a system. It just matters whether it's a good system or a not so good system. And so what we do with WorshipTeamCoach.com is really help you renovate your core ministry systems. We really believe there are 8 core ministry systems, and we've already mastered all the mundane of the systems, right? The not flashy stuff. So that's really what we do. And in terms of like an onboarding process, right? Or a preparation policy, or kind of a team, handbook or policy, we call it just, a covenant that we use here. But how do we develop team members, right? How do we make sure our song selection process is really squared away? How do we do all that? How do we onboard people the right way? How do we prepare people the right way? How do we pick the right songs, right? How do we develop our team members? How do we recruit new people? All those ministry systems. How do we communicate with one another? How do we create a slacker-proof schedule process? All those things every ministry has to deal with, and so we've already dealt with it the right way in terms of creating the best systems. These systems work regardless of what denomination you are, or church size, or even kind of instrumentation. The systems work across cultures here, really it does, and around the world it works with a lot of other churches. So having your right systems, that's what we do. We help implement those the right way to make sure that we also get weigh-in from our teams so they can eventually buy in as well, making sure that they're a part of that. And we truly develop leaders. That's what our whole company stands for. Ephesians 4, 11 and 12, right? Matt's paraphrase right here is, we're all given different gifts, and we really should be using those gifts as leaders to equip the saints to do the work of ministry, right? It can't be about us. It's got to be about Jesus, right? And the way to do that is to develop a team of people who are also doing that, right? So systems, structures, super important. Right? You can't get mad at what you tolerate. I'm going to say that again. You can't get mad or frustrated with what you tolerate. So if there's something that you've been tolerating for a long time and it upsets you, well, that's on you, right? So we got to stop tolerating maybe things that aren't okay, or showing up late, or showing up unprepared, those types of things. We got to have structures in place, and so we got to have things that we can hold people accountable to, as well as ourselves. And we want them to be a part of that process of developing maybe an accountability, policy, procedure, those types of things. We want to get people's weigh in on that again, so they can buy in as well on that. So when we talk about presence, we want to talk about not just platform presence, but also in the tech booth, right? On there, platform presence matters, and the more prepared we are, the more confident we're going to look on the platform. And I guarantee it's legal in your state to move around. Okay, it's legal in your state. That's okay. You can look prepared. Those types of things. And so clearing off the platform of unnecessary music stands or guitar stands or microphone stands, cleaning that thing up will just make things look squared away, right? And it'll also help out with your preparation. It helps with your confidence on the platform. It's okay that we engage with each other, right? It'd be just like if I were doing this, this little mini presentation, I were just kind of like this the whole time, and just kind of staring at my notes and just kind of, right? You wouldn't be very engaging. Same thing with this. Same thing with Sunday morning, right? We got to engage with our congregation, right? And it's supposed to be fun, right? We're celebrating, right? This is a big deal. So sometimes we have to let our hearts inform our faces that Jesus loves us. Okay, it's a big deal. So that's more about platform presence. And in the tech booth, on that, we got to be conscious of what are our slide backgrounds? What's our font that we're using on the projection screen? What's the live stream experience like for those who are joining us online? Do they feel like they're part of the congregation as well? Those are all things to consider to make sure that we feel that that they can be involved as well. So that matters. What our backgrounds look like. Again, what font size we're using. All those things really matter. The cameras that we're using, the live stream capabilities, obviously BoxCast, okay? They never failed us, all right? They've been rock solid every single Sunday, all right? If you're getting it to our platforms, super excited to talk about BoxCast as well, because they've been a great partner for us, and it just works. I think it's the easiest streaming service for any church out there, I really do. And then let's talk about practice, right? Again, practice is important, but there's a couple distinctions that we need to make, okay? Practice is personal. Rehearsal is relational, right? Again, practice is personal, rehearsal is relational. So we don't practice at rehearsal, okay? And that includes you leaders, all right? You got to have practice time for yourself as well, away from rehearsal. Because all rehearsal is, we're just putting together the pieces from our personal practice. And when we don't show up prepared, when we don't have our personal practice time, we are disrespecting the other team members and their families because they took out time to personally practice, right, on their own time, learning their parts. Now, as leaders, we have to make sure that we help prepare our team members so that they can practice. So we need to have our charts done, well in advance. We need to have the schedule done well in advance. We need to, make tutorials or find other resources to help our team, because a lot of our team members might only have a specific amount of time throughout the week where they can actually personally practice. And so we want to make sure that we don't put any hurdles in the way, right? So charts got to be done. Like I said, schedules got to be done, and resources have to be available, right? Those rehearsal mix, the multi-tracks, whatever systems you're using for that, it has to be in advance so our team members can prepare in advance, right? So then when rehearsal comes, right? And if you don't have a midweek rehearsal, I strongly encourage you to have a midweek rehearsal, regardless of the talent that you might have on your Sunday morning platform, okay? That midweek rehearsal, it's important because then we can have, team training. We can have game film review, right? Where you watch your live stream on mute, right? And you can see, hey, do we look prepared? Do we look engaged? Do we look like we love Jesus? Right? And also having that midweek is to really be, you can have some time for like a true devotional where you're not rushed, right? With maybe some of the hustle and bustle of Sunday morning. So those are super important there. Again, so we talked about systems, we talked about your structures, we talked about presence, and we talked about practice. That's right. I'm really excited for everybody else who's presenting today. Make sure to check out their videos, and a big thank you to Gary and Wade at BoxCast. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Matt. Really appreciate you being here, and thank you for the great information. Listen, if you haven't checked out WorshipTeamCoach.com, it's an incredible website which will give you all the tools and information you need to take your church's worship team to a whole new level. And of course, you can visit them at WorshipTeamCoach.com. Now, last year, BoxCast released a feature and a new tool. Actually, it's a new product line that we released called Sites, where it helps you to easily create and manage with a lot of precision your own church's website. And it helps you get it branded and all that. But we kind of knew that there was going to be a small problem, especially when it came to SEO and when it came to getting your church recognized online. So we decided to reach out to a friend and get some help. We reached out to FaithWorks Marketing. FaithWorks Marketing, they are an amazing group of people over there that will literally help you get your church recognized. John O has a book called Church Near Me, and I'm telling you, it's a fantastic tool to get your church recognized online. So with more information, here's John O Long.
If you've ever been frustrated because you have searched on Google for a phrase like church near me or church in my city, and you can't figure out why your church is not showing up, or you count the list and you're like number 17, if that's frustrating to you, then you're going to want to listen to what I have to say. I want to help you with that. In this short amount of time we have together, I want to give you several things that you can do on your own, you can implement today if you want, that will help move the needle, that'll help make you more likely to show up when people are on Google looking for churches. And here's the thing, they are on Google searching for churches. There's about 7 million searches every year for the phrase church near me. In fact, that's why I wrote this handy dandy little book called Church Near Me. If you want a copy, I'll send you one for free. Just go to churchnearmebook.com. And it's a more thorough explanation of the things that I'm going to mention today. And by the way, if you're wondering who I am, my name is John O Long. I was a youth pastor for about 20 years here in Metro Atlanta. And back in 2013, I had 5 kids. I was a youth pastor. If you're on church staff, you know how much youth pastors make. And it's pretty hard to raise a family of 5 kids and a stay-at-home wife on what I was making at the time. So I got into marketing just kind of as a side gig. And over time, got pretty decent at it. And by 2018, 2019, it really was my primary source of income. So right before COVID, I transitioned into this full-time and stepped out of full-time vocational ministry. So here I am. Now, when it comes to showing up on Google, we want Bible-believing churches to be at the top of Google. All right. We want to make sure that churches that are sharing the gospel are showing up where people are looking. And as long as there have been missionaries and evangelists, they have gone where the people are. And where are people? They are on this screen. They are looking at this phone a really big chunk of time during their day. So it's crazy not to make sure that we're showing up on their screen. And there's a few ways to do this. I'm going to point out two. There's search engine optimization, and then there's ads. There's paid ads on Google, okay? Search engine optimization, or we'll say SEO for short, that's the practice of really just making Google happy, doing some things that Google likes so that they're more likely to show you. Then, if you don't want to wait on that to take effect, because it does take a minute to kick in, and by a minute, I mean it could take months, okay? On the other hand, there's ads. And if you want to cut to the front of the line, you can pay Google to put you at the top. That's why you see it all the time. If you look for a restaurant or a roofer or a plumber or electrician, you'll see those sponsored ads up at the top. Those are paid ads. Those guys are paying to be at the top. They tell Google, hey, I'll give you this much money if you'll show me at the top. And every time someone clicks on those ads, they pay per click. That plumber is charged every time someone clicks on their ad, and it could be a different value depending on what phrase was searched or what part of the country they're in. Over to SEO, we're not giving Google any money there. We're just doing things that make them happy. A few of those things include making sure that your website's really fast, making sure that your website's got a lot of good words, good content on there. Churches, we're notorious for not wanting very much on our website. We like it clean. We like it crisp. We don't like a lot of words. But Google needs words. And so if you want them to understand that you are a Baptist church in Atlanta, Georgia, well, it's not just enough to put your address down at the bottom. You need to remind Google throughout the website that you are a Baptist church in Atlanta, Georgia. Okay? There's other things, and I'll give you the biggest one that you can do. The thing that you could implement now is to begin asking your church members for Google reviews. And every time I say that, a pastor usually kind of gets the ick, and they really feel weird about asking for reviews. And I get that, but you got to get over it, because that is the biggest thing that you can do. And if you want to reach people, again, where they are on their screen, you know that Google reviews are huge. If you owned a restaurant, you would be begging for Google reviews. If you were a roofer in your town, you would be begging for Google reviews, because you know they make a difference. They make a difference to you. Last time you looked for a restaurant in a town that you hadn't been in, you made your decision probably based on the reviews. And you looked at the top 3 more than likely and went with the one that had the best reviews. You did not count down to number 17, like, oh, let's go to the 17th best steakhouse in Houston. No, you looked at the top 3, you went to the one with the best reviews. And so what you need to start doing is start asking church members systematically for Google reviews. The churches I know that do it the best, they make it a part of their new members class. And at the end, they just ask the church, the new members, to leave a Google review about the church. And you want to make sure that they put words in there, not just 5 stars, but one of the biggest ranking factors for these reviews that help you show up at the top is positive sentiment in the Google review itself. So that's something that'll move the needle big time. But again, it's kind of a slow process because we're not giving Google any money. Now, if we go over here to paid ads, you can run ads on Google that will, shortcut. You can cut to the front of the line. And here's the kicker. The good news about churches, if you are your own 501c3, Google has a program where they will give you ad credit in the amount of $10,000 every month. Now, you've got to apply for it. You can just search Google Ad Grant, and there will be a Google link at the top of Google. Or you can go to our website, faithworksmarketing.com, and just click on the Google Ad Grant. We've got the 2024 guide to the Google Ad Grant for churches right there on the front page. And we'll tell you everything that you need to know about how to apply for that grant. But you've got to jump through some hoops, and you can probably handle that. It's not super hard. You've got to upload the determination letter from the IRS, just letting Google know that you're actually a 501c3. Once they believe that you're a 501c3 and they verify you, then they're going to award you the grant, and you've got to go in and activate it. And they send you an email, and you jump through a few hoops, and it's listed out in the email. And then from there, you've now got a Google ad account that they're going to give you $10,000 a month in ad credit to start running ads. And so you need to spend some time learning Google Ads. I'll go ahead and be totally honest with you. It's not super easy. And if you go search, there's not a whole lot of information online about how to use the Google Ad Grant for churches. In fact, we're building a course strictly for churches. There's plenty of resources out there for just general nonprofits, but as churches, it's just different. And so you can keep an eye on the FaithWorksMarketing.com website, and because that course is going to release any day now, honestly. And we would love for you to check that out, and we'll show you how to set up a Google ad campaign using the Google Ad Grant. And so what you're able to do once you've jumped through the hoops of getting approved for the grant, now you can go in there and you set up a campaign, and it's pretty well laid out step by step. There are a few things in there that may be a little bit confusing that you'll need to go over to YouTube and say, what do I do here? Okay. And there's some resources out there. We even have some videos that will walk you through it. And so you can just search FaithWorks, Google Ad Grant on YouTube. In fact, I think if you search Google Ad Grant for churches on YouTube, our videos are some of the first ones that'll show up where we talk you through that. But essentially what you're going to do is you're going to create a campaign, and a campaign is exactly what it sounds like. It's kind of the overarching theme of the set of ads that you're about to create. And you're talking about that campaign may be about join us on Sunday. And then you're going to create ad groups. And ad groups could be different themed things underneath that umbrella of joining us at church. So there could be a children's ministry ad group and a Sunday morning worship service ad group. Okay. And each of those ad groups that's where you're going to assign keywords. Google's going to say, hey, what keywords do you want us to show these ads for? When people type in keywords on Google, like, where's the best children's ministry in my town? You're telling Google by putting keywords on there, hey, I want you to show these ads when people type these words in. And once you've created those ad groups, decided what those ad groups are going to be about, children's ministry or women's ministry, whatever, now we're going to go to each of those ad groups, and we've got to create some specific ads that have compelling headlines like, looking for an amazing children's ministry, free things to do for your kids this summer in town, whatever that may be, but some compelling headlines that link to your website. So if the ads are about children's ministry, you want to make sure you link over to the children's ministry page and so on. And so while there's some work in there and there's quite a few steps, this is a huge resource that Google's giving away. And it does sound too good to be true, but it's not. And so if you can apply for it and you can get it and set up some ads, then it's going to give you a huge shortcut to the front of the line and showing up at the top of Google when all these people are looking for a church in your area. And, if you get to the point where you need help with it, that's what FaithWorks does. Just look us up, FaithWorksMarketing.com. And, we have some coaching options, and we also have just a done for you service. We'll just handle it. You may get in there and decide, hey, you know what? I'd just rather somebody handle it for me. But if you'll devote some time to it, you can do it on your own without paying someone like us. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is that churches that love Jesus are taking advantage of this and using Google's resources to share the gospel.
I cannot tell you how incredibly useful FaithWorks Marketing is, and their entire team is dedicated to making sure that you're seen online. And if you haven't already, or I hope you do, go visit FaithWorksMarketing.com. Check out everything that Jono has for you there. Include that free book. I'm telling you, it's a tremendous asset. All right, now listen, if you can't tell, we are live actually. So this is a real live thing. I mean, we are a live streaming company, right? And so with that, you can see behind me my entire crew of friends. We are live switching and we are live transitioning from place to place inside of this beautiful, amazing welcome center. So we'd like to thank Providence Church here in Avon, Ohio for donating the time as well as the space, letting us tear it down and build it back up and tear it down again several times to bring this event to you in a nice location. So that way we're not in some AI built area, right? So, all right. Listen, BoxCast knew going into a lot of the things that we developed that we were going to need to bring some more information. And we know personally how difficult it is for churches to get that outreach going in their community. Like, their church needs to be known for something. And so with that, we found some friends. Now, personally, I know my church has always struggled with the community aspect, building a community and maintaining community, and then also getting our name out there so the community knows who we are. So we kind of found a friend of ours. His name's Mark McDonald. He's with BeKnownForSomething. Now, Mark is incredible. I'm telling you, the absolute amazing things that he's going to tell you in this next piece of the presentation is you're going to want to write this down. I'm telling you, it's incredible how he can help you get your church known in your community. And with that, here's Mark to tell you more.
Many of you are tasked with creating content for your church. That's why you're part of this today. It sounds easy, but it's not. Do I hear an amen? In fact, I know quite a bit about creating content, and no matter how many times I'm tasked to provide material that's consumable, entertaining, and/or informative, it takes more time than I anticipate. But first, maybe I should tell you why I know a little bit about creating content. I'm Mark McDonald, a church brand strategist and a pastor of communication. I've been consulting with churches all across America for 23 years, helping each one become known for something relevant and needed. I coach churches to focus their content with a set of guidelines, a church brand guide. Do you have one? I've had over 860 church communication articles published, spoken at more than 100 conferences, and created more than 3,000 social media posts across 4 channels. That captures about 50,000 followers. Oh, and I've also authored the best-selling book, Be Known for Something. You know, it's humbling to do what God lets me do. So, do you want to know my secret to creating branded content and why it matters to your church? Well, there are 5 foundational points. And the first one is, but first, wait. Want to receive my notes from today? Well, go to BeKnownForSomething.com/subscribe and select BoxCast in the form. That's BeKnownForSomething.com/subscribe. Now, I'll email the notes plus a bonus worksheet about how to structure your online on-page content so Google becomes your biggest evangelist. So let's get back to the 5 points why branded content matters for your church. Now, we've all heard the term branding, but in the context of the church, what does it really mean and why should it matter to us as ministry leaders? Well, let's dive in. So number 1, branding is more than a logo. First, let's clarify something. The church's brand isn't just your logo, your colors, or your website design. Those are all part of your branding identity, but your brand is ultimately the perception that people have when they think about your church. Now, we call that your thread. You're known for something now, whether controlled or uncontrolled, whether that's positive or negative. Branding is just controlling that perception. It's also controlling the feelings that they get, the expectations that they form, and the experiences they anticipate. So the content you create needs to align with and reinforce that perception. You need to discover your thread. It'll help you say less as you lean into the narrow road of your thread, and more who seek that brand thread will listen. You say less, they'll listen more. Number 2, clarity is key. Imagine someone visiting your church website or social media page for the very first time. Within seconds, they should know who you are, what you stand for, and how you can help them. That's the power of clarity in branded content. Every piece of content, whether it's a sermon series graphic, a blog post, or a video, should clearly communicate your church's core message, which is your thread. This is where many churches miss the mark. You see, we try to be all things to all people, and in the process, our message becomes diluted. So define your focus, discover your thread, and let your content consistently reflect it. Ask yourself, what do you want to be known for? And ensure that your content speaks to that identity. 3, consistency will build trust. Once you've defined your brand, consistency is critical. It It's creating a brand guide with the rules of your content. People should be able to recognize your church's content anywhere they see it, whether on a Facebook post or an email or on your bulletin. Consistent branding reassures people that your church is reliable and committed. It tells them that you know who you are and what you have to offer them. This consistency isn't just visual. They should recognize your branded content even without seeing a logo. It's about tone, thread, and values. When your content consistently communicates the same thread, it creates a trustworthy brand that people will be drawn to, because your brand thread should clearly state your solution to them as quickly as possible. We say in 3 to 5 words. Now, 4, engage with authenticity. See, in our digital age, people crave authenticity. Your branded content should reflect the genuine heart of your church. It's not about perfection, it's about connection. Share stories of real people in your congregation. Show the life and energy of your church in action and connect it to your brand thread, which is your church brand promise or story. Remember, people are more likely to connect with content that feels personal and real. When you share your church's journey, challenges, and triumphs, you invite people to join into something bigger than themselves. So speak from the heart and to their heart. 5, branded content is a bridge. Branded content can be a tool, a bridge that leads people from where they are to where God wants them to be. It's not just about getting likes or clicks. It's about making meaningful connections that guide people closer to Christ. When done right, your branded content will not only draw people in, but will also inspire and equip them along their spiritual journey. So in closing, remember this: branding isn't about making your church look good. It's about making your church recognizable, trustworthy, and inviting. When people encounter your church's branded content, they see a clear, consistent, and authentic message that speaks to their heart. That's the power of branded content. And when we get it right, we're not just building a brand, we're building God's kingdom.
I told you, honestly, I told you, the stuff that Mark has is amazing. It's incredible content. I mean, he really knows his stuff. So go visit his website at BeKnownForSomething.com and make sure you check out that free resource that he's offering to you. So we kind of wanted to give you a little bit more of an inside look at what we do here at BoxCast, and part of this is us streaming. And since we are a live streaming company, we do use our own products, and this is our newest encoder, the Spark. And it comes in 2 flavors, HDMI and SDI. It's got pro audio inputs, audio metering. It's got troubleshooting built right in. If you're interested in that, reach out to your sales rep or go ahead and click the free trial button link in the description. And we would love for you to give BoxCast a try. All right, for years, and I mean literally years, audio has been a problem in live streaming. It's been the #1 biggest issue for our technical support team and our customer service teams to try to work around and fix, from having clipping or the audio is not working, or maybe there's some squeaky noises or hissing or static. Audio has been a big challenge for churches, and it's been incredibly difficult to get around. Well, BoxCast knew this, and so with the last 9 months, we reached out to James Attaway with Attaway Audio. This guy's an incredible resource. I mean, he's super knowledgeable, and he wants to help you understand how to make your live stream better. So with that, take it away, James.
I hope you've been enjoying this BoxCast launch event for helping you level up your video content at church. If we haven't met before, my name is James Attaway, and I help worship leaders, sound techs, and church tech directors eliminate the mystery and frustration around sound at church. And today we're going to be talking about 5 things every worship leader needs to know about sound. If you haven't noticed already, great video always includes great audio. So let's jump into number 1. The first thing you need to know as a worship leader is that there's a difference between a great broadcast mix and a great in-house mix. The requirements that we have for what feels good over a broadcast on a bunch of different devices is very different from what feels good in the room. So you have to treat them differently and you have to know what those differences are. For one, the levels in our room can go way up and way down. And it feels good because we've got a nice big sound system and a bunch of people around us to sing with. But at home, people are keeping their levels a lot lower, so we have to keep the levels going to the broadcast a lot more consistent so that they don't have to turn their device up and down. It's not an easy one to tackle, but hey, if it was easy, they wouldn't need us. Number 2 is how to use your microphones and DIs the right way. You work hard to nail the parts, to get all the tones right, and to really work on your arrangement. You don't want extra noise getting into the sound system, covering that up, or being a distraction. So one rule of thumb is to keep the microphones on stage as close to their sound source as possible. And on top of that, we want the microphone pointed straight at the sound source. I'll give you the quick rundown of how I mic drums, in that the microphone capsule is right over the rim of the drum, and it's just a little bit above the rim, and it's pointed at the center where the drummer is going to hit the drum. For singers, the microphone needs to be within about an inch of the singer's mouth. Remember, our microphone is there to capture dynamics, not create dynamics. So if your singer is pulling their mic way out, you're going to run into trouble with noise getting into that microphone, and it changes the tone of the microphone. When we get close to the microphone, it produces a low frequency boost that actually is helpful for us, but it requires that we do some processing at the soundboard, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Now, DIs, or direct boxes, more commonly known as direct inserts if you're nerdy and or British, that's the way that we get signal from our electronic instruments into a mic cable that can go a long distance. If you use the wrong type of connector and have too long of a cable run, it can introduce noise into the system that then gets amplified, and then as our broadcast gets more compressed, that creates noise issues, and now we've created a problem. The number 3 thing that every worship leader needs to know about sound is how to mix your monitors and how to teach your band to do the same thing. A great performance has 3 parts of it: pitch, pulse, and passion. So in our monitor mixes, we need to have a pitch reference, a timing reference, and a lead reference so that we can know where we are in the song and where the dynamics are going, whether we're picking it up for another chorus or if we're going to bring it down and go to the low bridge coming out of the second chorus. You also need to know how to have the right amount of yourself, and I called it the Goldilocks amount, because you need it to be not too loud but not too quiet. If you or the person that's mixing their monitors are too quiet in their monitor mix, they will try to compensate by pushing harder on their instrument or their voice. For singers, this can mean that they can go a little bit sharp or above the pitch. For guitar players, they might break strings, so that's a bad thing. If they're turned up too loud in their monitor mix, they're going to play or sing too quietly or timidly because they hear every detail and it's startlingly loud when they actually make a little bit of sound. Either one of these keeps you or your band member from hearing themselves in context so that you can be really locked in together. The number 4 thing that every worship leader needs to know is how to communicate with your sound tech. Sound techs are part of the worship team. They are the final presentation of the arrangement that you're producing on stage. So it's important for you to be on the same page and not to think of the sound tech as just somebody that's technical and makes sure that all the engineering things are plugged in and turned on. They actually have a musical role to play within the worship team. Instead of just being engineers, their job is actually dynamic, where they can highlight different singers and different instruments throughout the different parts of the worship set. If you've got a sound tech that's more technical and you need to teach them musical language and cast vision for how they can be moving the faders to adapt to the music during the mix, start listening to music critically together. Point out things in the arrangement that change from section to section and start to develop a common language of which things are in front of the mix and which things are tucked back. What's the primary instrument and who's the lead singer or who's carrying the melody in this song. When you get on the same page like this, it makes it a lot easier to give specific feedback that's actually helpful rather than weird feeling feedback from on stage. On stage, you're either listening to a monitor wedge or have in-ear monitors in. And maybe you pop out the in-ear monitors, but you're still listening to the back side of the PA, and it's hard to make judgments about how it sounds in the room from on stage. Knowing this, you can give clear directions to your sound tech if you've developed a common language that becomes more inviting them to participate in the arrangement rather than barking orders from on stage and I know how to do it and you don't. For instance, you might be bringing it down in a section and might want to emphasize the pad. So you say to the sound tech, hey, in this down bridge, I want it to feel very flowy and airy, so please emphasize the string pad. Or you could say, hey, after the second chorus, Jenny's taking the melody and singing the bridge. Could you make sure that her mic is up before she starts singing it? These instructions are specific, and it gives honor to the sound tech to be able to execute what your vision is. The fifth thing that every worship leader needs to know about sound is how to set your sound team up for success. In the churches that I help, I set up a base scene or a starting place that everybody starts from that's kind of vanilla. It doesn't have a ton of different processing on it, but it makes sure that all the main things are up and running so that it's easy to get a mix going really quickly. Having the same starting place makes it easier for different volunteers to get a consistent mix every week. You also need to make sure that you and your team know how to EQ and compress vocals really well. There is nothing that gives a sound tech more confidence than having clear, under control vocals. And even if the rest of the band just sounds okay, if the vocals sound good, the mix sounds good. Finally, you can set up your team for success by giving them a very clear picture of what winning looks like. To get clear language on what it should sound like, which instruments should be emphasized, and how people should hear themselves and others around them singing during your worship set, I created a free guide called How to Lead Your Church Sound Team. You can find it at attawayaudio.com/boxcast, or there's a link down below. Hey, I hope you enjoy the rest of this BoxCast launch event. Be sure to check me out on YouTube or Instagram and leave a comment and say hi.
Wow, I love what James is doing over at Attaway Audio. It's so good, such good information. If you haven't heard of James, that's okay. He is on YouTube, and he's got a website at attawayaudio.com. So make sure you go and check that out. His YouTube channel is youtube.com/attawayaudio, and he'll help you. He's got all kinds of tips and tricks and some really cool things to get you moving on an audio world, trying to make things a little bit better and at least help you get your audio and live streaming audio to where it needs to be. As you can see, we've ended up right back to where we began here in launch. And so with that, I wanted to say personally, thank you so very much. It's a challenge some days here to make sure that we're producing good content and that we're helping churches achieve the goal. BoxCast really does truly care about what the church cares about. And so with that, I'm going to toss it back over to Gordon before I start crying like a little baby here on live TV. We're going to toss it right back over to Gordon and close this out. It's all yours, Gordon.
Thanks, Gary. But before we go, just one more thing I want to share with you. Over the course of the last year and plus, we've been collaborating with some friends to build some pretty exciting technology that I think you're really going to appreciate. And this revolves around improving the audio for your church live broadcast. Audio is 80% of the experience for church worshipers. It's one part the worship experience, hearing the music clearly, and it's also one part understanding the teachings of what's being shared in that atmosphere. And it breaks my heart. The majority of the audio used that we experience could be so much better and is hard for a lot of people to understand here. That's why we've been partnering with our friends behind RemoteMix.com to help us fix this problem in a way that is accessible for everybody. It's not that people can't learn how to make their audio sound great for their live broadcasts. It's just a lot of effort to get it perfect. And what we've realized is that the tools are not always easy to use, and you're constrained to have to be on site in order to make that audio mix well. The problem with being on site to mix your audio for the remote viewer is you're tainted by all the sound that's already reverberating around the room, creating a different listening experience than what the person is going to hear in the end. Every broadcaster that has an audience that's watching has a vested interest of people that would love to be volunteers to help out. Imagine one of your remote volunteers could just open up their web browser, and it's as if they're sitting in front of the console to control all the parameters that matter for that live broadcast, so that they, in a perfectly quiet environment, can mix that perfect audio so that the audience can listen perfectly, whether it's on their TV at home, in their earbuds exercising, or when they're driving in their car. That's part of what got us excited about this, is that when I was traveling with my family, if I had to go on vacation, I literally had a really hard time hearing the sermon itself because the audio levels weren't in sync, because the volume for the worship was so much higher. It had to be. And thrashing between the two was always a struggle. The only thing that can be better than improving your audio this way is that we can also save you money. You don't have to buy new equipment. You can use what you already have. Sure, only one person can be in front of the console at once for the front of house. We understand that. But what makes this even better is that someone now can get access to that same equipment no matter where they're at, saving you money and making this doable for your organization. And what we're going to be offering is this technology in our BoxCast encoders that's going to allow you to get real-time access as if you're in front of the console to control the parameters and hear what's going on to make that mix perfect. We're so excited what this capability can do for your AV staff. Now every church can sound like a very polished professional experience, just like the big churches. So if you want to learn more, head over to remotemix.com and sign up for their waitlist. If you're new to BoxCast, head over to BoxCast.com to sign up for a free trial to get an experience of what it's like. You won't be disappointed. And with that, thanks to everybody who made today possible. And thank you for joining us. Until next time, happy streaming.